Welcome to Coffee and a Conversation hosted by CJ Abernethy for South Dakota District 23 Senate 2020. A father, a Marine Corps combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, Purple Heart recipient, with a bachelor's degree in information technology software engineering. CJ is a podcast producer and host. Please check out our social media pages for more information. If you would like to join this broadcast, click the link in the description to join. Coffee and a Conversation starts now. Have a good day or don't, the choice is always yours.
Oh, I love a good cup of coffee in the morning, huh? How about you? Good morning, everybody. It's your boy CJ, the Internet Warlord, coming to you live and loud from the great state of Meth, Dakota. You know Meth, Dakota. It's the state just south of North Dakota, the state formerly known as South Dakota, until the queen of meth herself, Governor Kristi Noem, declared us all on meth. Yes, it is a sad and tragic time we live in, where the dumb rule the stupid and the stupid know no better. I guess the audio is working. That's good to know. All right, if you'd like to join this broadcast this morning and take up half my screen and tell me why I'm right or wrong, that is an option for you. You just click the link in the description and it will take you backstage. I'll see you down here at the bottom of my screen and we'll get you on. You can take up half the screen. We can have a conversation with a cup of coffee, you know? And to be perfectly honest, I do this for the coffee mugs, you know? That's really the only reason why I run for office, to get these awesome, cool coffee mugs that will be really awesome to see, like, 35, 40 years later, if I make it that far. Oh, God. Today's morning coffee is delicious. Good job making that coffee. So, you did the seeds and everything and grinded them all up and all that. Yeah, for sure. So, let's see here. What am I missing? I don't get what all that is. So apparently we're having a regional. Okay. I don't get what's going on there, but either way, today's going to be a little lighthearted. I've spent the last few days beating up retarded people on the internet. And I can't do it anymore. At some point, I'll just briefly touch on it. There's some people I respect, and therefore I will give them a little more leeway than others when it comes to blatant being stupid. As I would hope they would allow me. What's that? And what I'm saying is that for some people, I would rather give them that opportunity to, obviously, if it gets to a certain point of disrespect, I'll treat you the same way you're treating me. And so it just gets real stupid sometimes, especially in politics, because, it gets really stupid. It is some of the dumbest conversation that you'll ever have. Good morning, OD Dub. What is up, sir? So I'm streaming over on YouTube today just for some shits and giggles this morning. Also on my Senate page and then my personal page, obviously. But yeah, after a week or so or two, actually feels like months of just calling Trumplicans mentally retarded morons. It gets a little old. I'll admit that. Like you say people shouldn't be able to murder people with immunity, and they go, yeah, they should. Wait, what? What? I don't understand the argument. I never will. And to be perfectly honest, Yeah, yeah, I know. You go, hey, I want to hold people accountable for their actions, and everybody should be allowed to have due process of law. And when you say no, 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 CJ, you shouldn't, it makes me go, really, honestly, like, and listen, I went on Larry Sharp last night. I had a great time talking with Larry. He had me talking about my time in the Marine Corps that again I don't normally talk about. I don't. It's not something that I'm just like, hey guys, let me tell you about this day. Let me tell you about that day. It's just nothing. It's not something I do. So it was kind of nice to talk to another Marine about that, and to know that he can relate. And so it was a good time. I'd highly encourage you to go listen to that conversation. I've got somebody in here making a bunch of stupid noise behind me. It's completely distracting. Um, but OD Dub says, I'll have a fatty for you when you get down here. Uh, uh, Listen, I'm what they call a seaweed smoker. But here in the great state of Meth Dakota, if I don't seaweed, I don't smoke weed. So, at the end of the day, that was a subject I did cover on Larry Sharp, or on the Sharp Way, Larry Sharp last night, and yeah. So, anyways, yeah, no, it gets kind of stupid though. And now I got somebody talking to me while I'm normally talking. So this is just going to be one of those episodes. Um, but anyways, I decided today because I asked the question. I said, "Who's running for Libertarian Party chairman?" And so I don't know if you guys know this, but I got two postcards here for vice chair, Richard Longstreth and Molman. Um, Richard Mol. No, no, sorry. Here, do you have your first? Do you have your name on here? I guess it's just Molman. You have like a first name? I guess I don't really know you. Should probably look it up more. Um, but I got these two for vice chair, and just so you know, I think the current vice chair is an absolute useless idiot. Um, and just a complete waste of a time when it comes to uh, matters dealing with the LNC and members. And yeah, he was part of the censorship team and the obstruction team during the first ever online convention. And to be perfectly honest, you guys, going into Orlando, it's gonna be really tough for me not to tell you all publicly that that first convention was botched, most likely rigged, and I don't know what we're gonna do about it. I don't trust the voting. We heard it on a live open mic that they were rigging the vote. So it's like, well, when you know that soundbite exists out there, when they're all like, "Oh, hot mic, hot mic, hot mic, check 1 2. They know we're rigging. They know we're rigging. Oh shoot." And it wasn't to that dramatic effect, but we heard enough to know, yeah, this is some corrupt BS. The LNC is doing some dirty, dirty, dirty stuff, and so it's gonna be really hard for me to keep my mouth shut on that. Other people are trying to just like hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, bullshit with it. Um, but it's gonna be super hard for me being this outspoken guy, first convention ever, and knowing that the LNC was literally caught on hot mics trying to rig the vote, and that other states were seeing live results in real time and then making determinations on how they were going to vote. It's all botched. I mean, I've been saying it since Nick Sarwark, gavelled in the convention and even prior to. So to have that in the back of my mind, and then continuing to further, participate into the extent that I'm not going to pretend that this isn't a botched convention, and that that the online portion that we did is even valid. People are trying no matter what. Like, there's people that have been in the party for years who are like, no, it was great, it was fine, blah blah blah. Even the presidential candidates were like, no, we accept the results. And I'm the delegate that was there going, you guys all didn't just hear that on the hot mic, that they were rigging this thing, that there was some shady stuff going on, and that it's most likely not a legitimate. If that had happened at our state convention, we would have botched the vote and the convention, and we would have probably hung our chair out to dry. So yeah, that's just it, and that's the sad part, is that I know that it's been jacked, it's been broken, it's not a legitimate convention. And so, at the end of the day, the only benefit that we have, and that I will say coming out of this and in my studies of conventions, is that because we didn't technically disband the convention and call it over, which the obstructionists tried to do. I mean, Nick Sarwark himself personally, for the rest of recorded history, did exactly what I said he was going to do. He was going to try to botch the convention. He was going to sabotage it in a way that this party could lose ballot access in many, many, many states. And so he tried. But the benefit we have going into Orlando is that we can essentially null and void the online vote and redo the entire thing from start to finish. Now, I know that's going to piss off a lot of people on the other end of that screen there. But here's what happens if we don't. People smarter than me, and right now some of you are thinking, oh, CJ, you're the dumbest guy on the internet. Fair enough, right? I'll give you that's probably your train of thought. Well, people smarter than me are going to hear these words and know that I'm right. And it's really going to mess things up. And it's going to make it so that we do lose ballot access in many, many states. So the only thing this body did right after the attempted sabotage of Nicholas Sarwark is vote to move to a second sitting in Orlando. And so my thought is if we don't null and void what we already did, at some point it's going to come out in history. That little soundbite in those, like, it's 8 hours of video of different days, and then you add up all these times, and that one little soundbite on that one little hot mic on that one YouTube video in the last hour of voting, when that thing comes out, and if people were to really focus in on that time of our convention, it would be talked about forever in this party. Forever. So, we have the opportunity to essentially null and void the obstructionist and rigging that the LNC tried to do. So, and listen, I'm not saying this is involving individual delegates. Please separate yourself if you're a delegate from the LNC. The delegation has more power and authority than the entire LNC. We have the power to vote. They don't in certain aspects. And that's what I'm saying is that, one, we knew Nicholas Sarwark was going to try to do what he did prior to, through study, through his own words, through his actions, and through just basic common knowledge of, well, if you're looking like you're going to be an obstructionist and you're acting like an obstructionist, and now you start doing obstructionist things, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. And I can't begin to tell you how much hate I got, which was probably, to the The people from the great state of Georgia, they wanted to feed me to the alligators. They wanted to down in Florida. They wanted to feed me the alligators in Florida. They even motioned to suspend the rules to feed me to alligators in Florida. And then now you see those same Georgians who think again Nicholas Sarwark was obstructing the convention and doing things shady. And so to that I say I can't wait to go talk trash about you in person to your faces down there at the convention in Orlando. Conveniently, if you're going to try to feed me to alligators, at least we're in Florida to begin with, right? But I don't think that a state with the lowest education statistics in the country is really somebody I should intellectually worry about. Now, with that being said, separate yourselves as delegates from the LNC. The LNC is the ones that messed this up, not the delegation. We didn't mess this up at all. We by no stretch of the imagination was it me or any individual delegate. The LNC and the people that make up the LNC that allowed this, and then they can put the blame right where it belongs with the chairman of the Libertarian Party, Nicholas Sarwark, who, again, I have given invitation to this platform to say you can come on this platform and you can defend yourself, but the coward says no every time. So there's no reason for me to assume that he has a spine, let alone integrity. So, at the end of the day, I sit there and I go, well, we need change. Who's going to bring the change that we need? And I tried this morning to pretend to not be a libertarian and just try to look into the party and say who's running for LNC chair. Who wants to steer this ship? Who wants to captain the Titanic as we sail off into the wild blue yonder? And I know a few of the candidates that are running, their names, but my problem is I want to act like I don't know anybody. I don't know who's running. I don't know what the difference is. And I can't find a list, a compiled list of anybody running for LNC chair. I looked on the national website, couldn't find it. I looked all over the internet. It's easier to find, lists of registered sex offenders than it is to find a list of LNC chair candidates. So, let's see here. California. I think there was a debate, though. I think there was a debate. It was they had a presidential debate. But again, if you look for who's running, if you even type in any of the things that you would think, okay, well, this is who's running for chair, there's nothing at all. I can't find it. It just doesn't exist. Libertarian Party. Oh, come on. Of California. And again, to be perfectly honest, why is she vacuuming in the morning? This makes no sense to me. It's just rude. Okay. So, I heard there was a debate in California where they were debating for chair. And I don't, of course, whoever's running this. Chair candidate debate. That was 2019. That was for California, though. Yeah, see, this is the problem with whoever's running the Libertarian Party of California's page. They for whatever reason, they don't label anything. So this is what I'm talking about, is that we don't have we've got a lot of states that don't do this right, to be perfectly honest. Some are labeled right, but can you go back in here and tell me which one of these was the debate for chair? Any of these? Anybody? Nobody? Nobody can tell me? Okay. Yeah, there was a debate allegedly that they had. And again, I'm trying to find it. I heard it was in the videos somewhere here that maybe it's this one.
That will turn either blue or green if we're live.
No, it stays red.
Please check.
Is this it?
General announcement.
No, that's not it either. But that's
But
what I'm trying to get at is that there's no real aggregated information for the party members to make a decision. And our vice chair here in South Dakota stated that, well, anybody can declare that they're running for chair of the party at any time, so it's really hard to create a list for everybody to see what's going on. And so you see that's a problem, but again, it speaks to the LNC itself. And again, I'm going to tell you, I will give the party one thing: we have great people, but we have very stupid leadership. Very stupid leadership. And I'm okay being the one to say it, because this is my first convention, my first year being a delegate, my first year, and I'm the outside guy looking in. I've never been to a Republican convention or a Democrat convention or a Democrat state, convention party. I've never participated in a Republican convention state party. So the Libertarian Party is the first party I've actually gotten involved with. Not just voted for or in the duopoly think of voting. So this is the first time I've actually participated in politics with a party, and it's, I sit there and I go, well, why are we letting a bunch of morons run the ship? Who are all a bunch of technocrats and coronaphobics. Why? They want us to be the internet party. It's what they want. I mean, that's what the current LNC is trying to do, is turn us into a bunch of technocrat internet people instead of being the party of civil disobedience, activism, the principles that I believe this party stands for. This party is being run by a bunch of idiots, and there's only one thing we can do about that: call them what they are. For the party that says taxation is theft, I find it really amazing that we can't call our LNC a bunch of morons when they're being morons. And again, if you feel like if you're on the LNC and you're like, no, CJ, I'm one of the good ones. I'm one of the good ones. I'm not part of that problem there. You haven't made a noise enough for me to realize it. It's almost like the whole good cop, bad cop thing. Like, CJ, there's good cops out there. Yeah, but where? If there's so many, why aren't we seeing like parades for cops every day on the streets? Instead, we're seeing riots because they're extrajudiciously murdering people, and our political opponents are like, even Biden, increased military or increased spending for police. Trump's like, yeah, we agree on something. It's insane to me. It's insane that we sit there and we go, oh, okay, well, I mean, literally, the Libertarian Party is the only party who's like, yeah, defund the police, defund all areas of government that are corrupt, crooked, and make taxes voluntary all the way around. So, that just makes more accountability. If my life is saved by a law enforcement officer, you don't think that I'm not going to be more apt to donating money when I can to law enforcement causes? Instead, my life has been negatively impacted by law enforcement my whole life. I think I've met maybe that one or two good officers in my time for police, maybe a few good sheriffs, a few good deputies, a few. But that pales in comparison to the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of videos over my life I've seen of abuse from a cop. And it just makes me go, wait, why did the LNC think the way they do? Oh, they think they have immunity. Oh, okay, I see now. Nicholas Sarwark thinks he's immune. I get it. And as a result, it just breeds that corruption. If you don't think there isn't corruption in the LNC currently, after a 12-year reign of a very crooked chairman, people that are probably doing some pretty shady things, controlling the flow of information to their profit, if you don't think that's not existing in the current Libertarian Party, and that's my own party, and that's just what I'm seeing as a first-year outsider. And again, I'm not talking about any specific delegate. And again, I'm not saying that there are not people that are ignorantly staying, blind to it. They're choosing. They're choosing, and at some point, it's going to come to the front. And that really sucks to say, because I would much rather be the guy saying, "Hey guys, it was a legitimate process. We've got a great LNC." But they were all obstructionists. All of them. Every single LNC member that I saw at the convention at some point could be claimed that they were an obstructionist. And you're just like, well, dang, man, why can't we just get this right? Well, we can. And again, as a guy who's like, all right, we just bitched about the problem. Let's talk about the solutions. The solution is to go to Orlando and declare what we did online null and void from the get-go. But we do that by removing and then replacing the current obstructionist chair, Nicholas Sarwark. Once you remove him, you remove the vice chair, who is about as crooked as a $2 or $3 bill, I should say. $2 bills are at least legitimate at some point in history. Crooked is a $3 bill. And then again, if you get rid of everybody from the chair all the way down, and you just flush the LNC of this, I don't even want to say the swamp, just the corruption that it's bred over Sarwark's terms. If you just fresh start it, new people. Maybe the secretary. She was pretty nice. I will give that to her. She seemed like a really nice lady. Again, I don't know to what extent she's involved in anything, but you'd have to think she's seen some stuff over the years. So she'd probably be one of the only ones that I would say you might want to give some clemency and leniency to. But as far as the rest goes, like I said, it's time to flush it out. It's time to put somebody at the top that is a man of action or a woman of action, and dedicated and not going anywhere. Somebody that is more than willing to stand up for the right things, be transparent, open and honest with the delegates, not hiding things behind corruption and secrecy. And it's just, that's what's obvious. I mean, when you want to know why the Libertarian Party hasn't had as big of a splash, people are all like, oh, nobody wants to vote for a third party because nobody takes a third party seriously. Everybody wants a third party. I mean, hang on. I know there's a statistic to prove this. How many Americans want more than two political parties? Yeah, here we go. We'll go to fake news CNN. Fake news CNN says that at least 40% of Americans want a third political party, even if they don't like the candidates.
If the math doesn't tally up when I get to the next 3 or 4 months and I take my message out to the American people.
Okay, well, we're not going to listen to that guy. But again, if fake news CNN here, fake news. But again, we'll just go with their number of 40%. Even if they don't like the candidates, they still want to hear somebody else's opinion to be able to make that judgment, to have that voice. So why do we sit there? 40% want a third party. Why are we not getting at least 25% of the vote? It blows my mind. 25% of the population alone wants to have no federal government. That's 1 out of every 4 people you meet daily. If you talk to 8 people in a day, 2 of those people want to abolish the federal government, whether you talked about that or not. So that's where I'm sitting there going, well, why would we, as a guy who's just looking, okay, let's imagine like this. The Libertarian Party's driving out to South Dakota. The whole party, everybody, all in one little micro mini bus. And you pull up in your and you break down right in front of my house. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at your bus and go, well, you haven't changed the oil. Your tires are bald. That one's not even a tire. That's on the rim. All your windows are busted out. Your AC don't work. Your seats are all torn up. You got way too many people crammed up in there. Not too many chiefs, going on in that party there. Too many clowns in this clown car. Your doors don't work. Your lights don't work. Everything's busted. And well, why do you expect people to get on? It's not safe. It's almost toxic, to be honest. It should be declared a biohazard. And so you look at it, well, who's driving this frickin' thing? And then come to find out that, it's personal favors, it's political pandering, it's making sure that you're on the right, you gotta to certain people. And I've never been that guy. Never been that guy. You have to earn my respect before I give you respect. I mean, I'll give you kindness, courtesy, dignity, and respect as a human being. But on a personal level, I don't just go, hi, I respect you right off the bat. I have to see something respectable in order to respect. And so, I sit there and I go, well, you want me to get on that bus? Well, what is going on? Man, this is just a terrible morning broadcast altogether for having peace of mind. Daisy. Good Lord. Our dog's attacking the cat. Yeah, but play means like throw around like a rag doll. Okay, so where were we? Oh yeah, back to the broken down little clown car bus outside my house. Who's driving this thing? Why would I get into it? Well, I mean, I'm not a mechanic, but I can tell you your engine is clogged and you ran out of gas, but then you start to wonder why you didn't just get a new bus. Why didn't you just stop off before you put everybody piled up into this piece of trash and start driving across the country? Why didn't you get a nice bus, make everybody comfortable? Why didn't you? Why didn't you make sure your driver is some drunk moron who's just swerving across the road? And then when you start to see him drinking intentionally and starting to like crash into the sides of guardrails and things, at what point did you go, well, maybe I shouldn't get on that bus? Or at least we should get a designated driver until, we get to our next destination. And so the LNC took a manufactured crisis, a hoax, that had no credibility out the gate and was used by a government we say we fight to perpetuate to the delegates that, oh, we got to stay home. We got to do, some of us can't leave our state. And listen, to the ones of you that are like, hey, they said we can't leave our state. What? Are we not the party of civil disobedience? Are we not the party that says, why are you listening to the government? We want to abolish the government, and we have members in our party that are like, oh, no, I believe the government on this one. It just makes no sense. We needed leadership at the top to guide us through this obviously manufactured hoax in our nation's history, led by an administration that, do you trust the Trump administration? Honestly, I don't. So we're going to sit there and go, okay, well, guess what? There's this hoax. All of us don't trust the government, but we're going to believe them on this one. Oh, well, CJ, we couldn't leave our house because if we did, we'd be criminals. Well, then fight it in court. Or don't be a delegate. Find people in your party that are willing to go, no, I think it's a hoax. I'll drive all the way down to Orlando or Texas or wherever the convention is. I'll get there. We'll do the party business, and then I'll come back and we'll report, and boom, we have an honest, by-the-books convention. But instead, what the LNC did is they pandered to the coronaphobic and the ignorant and the ones that are just, I call them the Trumplicans of the party. The ones that are they're like little L libertarians, whatever you want to call it, because we're all not as libertarian as we wish we were. But I'll have you know, I did agree with Dr. Joe Jorgensen 91% of the time on isidewith.com survey. Proud of that, because one, I know where she stands. I've studied her. Like, it was like a test. Like, where does Joe Jorgensen stand? Because she's who I'm voting for. And on 9 out of 10 things, that's good. If we disagree on one thing, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I can't support her. No. I can support her 9 out of 10 times. In fact, when I did the I side with in 2016, I only agreed with Trump 79% of the time. I agree with, and again, I think Gary Johnson, came in like, I want to say in the 60s, like 60% range. So to match Joe Jorgensen at 91% is just a testament to how much I've studied the candidate that I'm voting for, and where my beliefs line up with hers. And like I said, it wasn't 100% match, but close enough. So back to the statement that I'm trying to make here. If 40% of Americans want a third political party, regardless of who the candidates are, just give me somebody else up there that can question the narrative of the two parties that are currently screwing this up all across the country. Why haven't we been the party that goes to this? Many libertarians have said, hey, this is what the American people want. And the two parties are like, no. Because here's the truth in the numbers. Let's say Joe Jorgensen gets 15% of the population vote, right? 15%. They don't care. They don't care as long as it's in certain states that doesn't affect the Electoral College in certain ways. And then on top of that, even if she gets 15, that leaves 85%. All they care about is that 85% window. They don't care. Once that window gets to 49%, then they're in trouble. Then the two parties are like, uh-oh, we're going to have a changing of the guard. There's a new political party. We're out. And because, well, actually, I wouldn't say it's even 49%. I would say that it's got to be closer to 80%, to be honest, if I'm really thinking about it now. They want that number to be that 80%, which is why I think, again, you'd see candidates who are like, well, we'll be lucky if she gets 5. If she has 15, it's gonna be a interesting year in politics for sure. But again, if 25% want no federal government, if 40% want a new political third party to be in debates against the other two parties, but yet none of that happens, you guys don't go, I wonder why this isn't happening. Because so again, my 50%, my 49% number is wrong. I would say it's 80% because even if you split that, it's 40%. So, but they know that they can keep that in that range. So let's drop it down to 60. They get 30. So yeah, if it gets to, so would it be 70? Be close to 70. It's going to be like 65%. If 65% are only voting for the two parties and 35% are voting for a third party, that leaves only 62% or 32.5% for either party to split. And they intentionally keep the Democrats and the Republicans ignorant to this fact that there's a third party by, again, using their propaganda media to block candidates, discredit candidates, what I find, for example, is that, for example, we got a fake news article site out here. I'm not going to use their actual name, but Fat Powers is the guy that writes the articles. And he would much rather write a hit piece article about any one of our candidates over something stupid we post on the internet, which is most likely fire for effect, in political debate or taken out of context. Instead of looking at the fact that the guy he's supporting is like allegedly a pedophile and a rapist. So instead of writing, real journalism, they think real journalism is attacking like what we, posted yesterday about defund the cops. And not allowing us to respond. Hey! This has just been one of those broadcasts this morning. Boots can go outside. Yeah, I could just go put them right back out. Like I said, if it gets past that threshold of 70, I think you go 70 or 67%. Would it be 67? If it gets to 67, if 67% of the population is what I'm going to guess, because that leaves 33. Yeah, if it gets to a third, if a third of Americans want a new political party and they vote for that, what you're talking about is the U.S. Congress, possibly the Supreme Court, deciding the presidential election. So for people that are like, a third party can't win, I disagree with you. And again, I love it when a Republican tells me a third party can't win. And it's like, your party's literally founded as a third party, you idiot. But again, people don't know their history. Nothing I can do about it. But again, yes, a third party can win. Hello, Republicans. At some point, guess what? Democrats, you were a third party. So it just blows my mind that people don't know their history. You think this party started out Republicans and Democrats? Really? Really? No, this country, excuse me. This country. You think this country started out with Republicans and Democrats? At some point, just like it's been said, you too, your family were immigrants. Your political party was once a third party. Yes, very much so. So the ignorance of a third party can't win is just dumb. Both of your parties were third parties at one point. So why do people say that? Because it makes them sleep better at night. It makes them sleep in comfort. Oh, my boy Trump, he's gonna win this. Well, duh, we know the election's rigged. When you know what really also blows my mind in this is that Trump's like, it's all rigged, and we're like, yeah, we know, and then it's like Trump's gonna win again, and it's like, duh, it's rigged. Hello, McFly. Come on, wake up. It's all rigged, and it's rigged because, again, this is your fake news of the day. 40% of Americans want a third political party, even if they don't like the candidates, which is over the number it would take in order to have a third party declared a victor in the political presidential election. So that should scare people. It should scare the two-party duopoly that they mess it up so bad that as of March 4th, 2019, and most likely a lot higher today if we found a more accurate, credible poll. But fake news almost a year ago was saying 40%. I would bet that number today is at least 50. At least one out of every two people you talk to, one of them is going to be like, no, I'm voting Republican. We don't need a third party. Blah, blah, blah. They'll stick to ignorant, stupid talking points. Or they'll be Democrats like, no, we're good here. But then the other person you talk to is like, yeah, I might not agree with what they're saying, but I'd like to hear a third opinion. I'd like to hear a third point of view, a third perspective, which is a sign that, again, the duopoly could be falling. The duopoly game is being exposed. So that magic number, they don't care, because if they got 80% of the population, or the voting population, playing their game, they'll swing it. We all know the polls are fake. Trump's up 5 points. Trump's down 10 points. Trump's up 4 points. Trump's down 8 points. It's all fake. That's all fake. That's just so that way they can go, oh, Trump said something stupid. He's down 4 points. Trump said he did something great. He's up 13 points. Thanks. Highest rating I've ever had from Republicans. But listen, you can get 99% of the Republicans if you lose independent voters. That's the crux of it. See, I dream of a day where the independent voters go, wait a minute, I'm independent. Why am I still voting for two parties that don't care about me, that does not care about, the fact that everybody in America can watch their hypocrisy at any given moment and point it out. That's why I have a hard time defending Donald Trump. I admit it. I voted for him, but at some point it just became too stupid to defend. Imagine if Donald Trump was the president when George Washington was leading a revolution. If Donald J. Trump was the president when America was founded, the First Amendment would read this: a well-regulated military police state being necessity to the security of a slave state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall be infringed, and we believe in taking guns first, then going through due process. By the way, due process doesn't exist because we want to extrajudiciously allow our police to murder people. That would be your Second Amendment. There wouldn't be a Fourth or Fifth Amendment if Donald Trump was president at the founding of this country. God forbid. Donald Trump is not George Washington. George Washington went and shot the British, ordered the murder of government, people that were controlling the government. He could have been king. We could have established a king in this country and said no. Now, Donald Trump would have been like, yeah, put the crown on my head. Give me credit. All hail me, the king. And it's just, it blows my mind. See, I fell for it. I was like, oh no, he's the outsider. No, you know what? He's not. That guy has paid off more politicians than any one of us could afford in a lifetime. He's not an outsider. Everybody knows who Donald J. Trump is in politics. And the first time Oprah's like, are you going to run for president someday? Everybody knew it was going to happen. Duh. Don't be stupid. It's just ignorance. And I can't sit there and you expect me to go like, okay, well, I'm going to still continue to defend this. No, I can't. There's no way to. At all. Why would I? How could I? without losing my own integrity. And I'm sorry, but I don't wake up every day and go, hey, Trump, let me just, wait for my attaboy to come, pun intended. It's a joke. So this again leads me back to, again, the fake news of the day from a little over a year ago. Again, I'll say this is from, I'd say this number's gone up since in 2020. Why hasn't the Libertarian Party taken the lead and ran with this? Well, because they're controlled opposition. That's the truth. Whether you want to admit it or not is a whole nother subject and a whole different can of worms for you to digest on your own accord. So what do we got to do? We got to get rid of them all. Now, I tried to find a list of all the candidates running for chair, and there isn't a list. I got told there was a debate in California. It's not easy to find. So how are we able to make informed decisions about who we should be selecting for our chairs? So at the end of the day, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the Libertarian Party of South Dakota if we would like to host a chair debate and have it be an open invitation to any man, woman, or other seeking the Libertarian Party nomination for chairman. And if they would oblige us by allowing us to do so and see what everybody says. And if that's the case, then I'd be more than willing to moderate it, kind of like the same format that we did with the presidential candidates, which was again a great time. And if we can do something like that, maybe then we can at least have it for our records. And especially since the last time they debated was in California and a while ago. So maybe that's something we should look into, because who's running for LNC chair? Who? Huh? Who? I don't know. Yeah. But just so you guys know, I'm going to announce this morning, I'm running for LNC chair. No, I'm joking. It was a joke. I don't want that position. I'm just fine running for District 23 Senate. There's a glare in there. I'm just fine. Good morning, Mr. Gilligan. The last good cop in America. Ugh. Okay, fine. Again, I'm sure there's at least 10 of them out there. At least. I don't know if you saw yesterday's broadcast, Mr. Gilligan, but I broke down the NYPD and their 108,000 plus complaints from citizens the year to date since January 1 of 2020. So yeah, lots of good cops out there in New York. So by that estimate, we'll be at over 225,000 complaints by the end of the year, just in New York City and that district and area alone. That's not including the whole state or the whole country. And yes, I will give it that some of those complaints are most likely people guilty of what's the word I'm looking for? Crimes and whatnot. But that's what percentage I'm not going to speculate on, but that's just the total number. But yeah, lots of bad criminals out there too, I'm sure. Yesterday I broke it down pretty well. He says that's low. I'm sorry you feel that way. It's my opinion that again I go back to if good cops really do exist out there. I'm not saying that there's not good people. What I'm saying is that it's hard to see a good cop in a time where bad cops are everywhere. You know what I mean? It's hard to look out in there and go, Oh, where's the good apple out there behind all those riot police and people beating and extrajudiciously murdering people? Where's that one good cop helping that old lady across the street, or giving that homeless guy a sandwich and making sure he's got something to eat that day? Why aren't all of these guys, instead of rioting, why aren't they, grabbing a broom and sweeping the streets, or uh, doing the get up challenge? Yeah, on TikTok, you know. But it's just like, at some point, like I said, I want to believe there's good cops in America. I'm not saying I don't, um, and I'm not saying there aren't. What I'm saying is that that might be a dying breed of people. That might be that might be a way that's gonna go. The the days of a personal cop, um, you know, being out there, and I'll agree with you that you never hear about the good, and that's not even true. I've heard good stories from law enforcement. I've heard, like, here and there, but I would again say that they say that there's I mean, again, you throw a good apple into a barrel of rotting apples, that apple eventually is going to rot too. And you know, I think that's, look, for example, that guy in Minnesota. He just got out. He was a rookie 4 days in, and he's saying, "Listen, I even told the guy, get your leg off him. Let's turn him on his side or whatnot." And they're like, "Well, you know, is he really complicit to the murder? Is he really is he aiding in it?" Um, he might have a legal argument that he was in that moment at least making the Chauvin cop or whatnot aware that there's another way to do it. So he might have a legal argument to to uh, to get off on that charge. So see, look, I'm not even being unrealistic because, like I said, you can be a cop and be a good person, but being a cop doesn't automatically make you a good person. Just like me being a Marine doesn't just make me a good person because I went to the Marine Corps. You know, um, my character is my character outside of that uniform. While there is prestige and honor to it, and there is for being a law enforcement officer to a certain extent, they're kind of similar in that needing and wanting to serve the community, or your country, and I can relate on that aspect. But the same way I go, when you thank me for my service, what are you thanking me for? I was a glorified security guard for oil and pharmaceutical contracts, and warmongers, and criminals, war criminals, not just criminals, war criminals. So it makes you go and have to really analyze your perspective outside of what you're comfortable with to go, is is what I'm being told my service was and is it really what it was and is? And so while I can appreciate the individual civilian understanding that they're thanking me for my time, that I would be willing to do that with my life, it's the same for law enforcement. It's the same for the thin blue line supporters, or as I call them, the thin-skinned blue line supporters. Um, because they are thin-skinned. They can't accept a challenge on the internet of way of thinking. But that's again not to say that I haven't met good law enforcement. Like I said, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I have respect for. While I disagree with him on many issues, I have respect for our local sheriff out here. But we don't have police out here in Eureka, South Dakota. We don't have uh, a police force patrolling our streets. We don't have really any real. When's the last time somebody was murdered in Eureka? Yeah, murdered. Yeah, we don't even know if there's been a murder in this town. Like, probably at some point in its history, but certainly not since we've been here or even known prior. Now, not to say there isn't some low level drug usage. I'm sure. I mean, our state's attorney used to sell crack or coke or whatever, and sell cannabis. Way back when it was illegal, before he became the state's attorney. At least so I've been told by many people that have partaked with him. So, or bought it from him directly. But yet he, went to law school and then became the state's attorney. And now he's the guy that'll prosecute you if you buy those drugs. Okay. Yeah, so in my jurisdiction where I live, the statistics for murder, rape, and what? And robbery are so low that they're not even applicable for for the state per 100,000 people. We're not even on the blip on the radar. So there's more murder in where you live in one day than there is in almost recorded history in our jurisdiction. So it's a different way of life for sure, a different way of looking out at the perspective. We don't pay taxes for a police force. But if you look at what a police force actually is, it's to serve corporate and state privileges and interests, not protect or serve people. And it's not CJ saying it. If you're thinking it's me saying it, your problem's not with me. It's with the United States Supreme Court that's ruled not once but twice that law enforcement has no obligation to protect or serve regardless of what they feel. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, we have one sheriff, two deputies, and then they're hiring one more. So, um, yeah, not because crime's going up, because one just left. So it's a different world living out here in rural South Dakota compared to the mean hardcore streets of New York City. So, like I said before you think that I truly mean there are no good cops, I mean that being a cop doesn't automatically make you good. There are good cops that are good people. They exist. It's like coronavirus. It's real, but the language around it is fake. The reaction to it's fake. Just like the language for cops is that being a cop doesn't automatically make you good. So hope that clarifies it for you. I saw you tuned out there, Mr. Gilligan. So at least you understand where I came from, whether you liked it or not. As always. Well, that's all I got for today. Like I said, I tried to tell you. Yeah, hey, click that again. You never do hear about the good. I will give it that, though. I would love it to have a million. I'd love to be able to share every good cop video that I can find, but they're outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. So, and that's just sad. So, but anyways, at the end of the day, like I said, I don't know who's running for LNC chair. There's a million problems with the party that need to be addressed going into Orlando. I didn't really want this to be about cops and whatnot, obviously. But when Mr. Gilligan comes on and whatnot, we can go that route. But and it's like, okay, well, what do we do about the party? It screwed up the online convention. It screwed up it screwed up a lot of stuff. Who's gonna run for chair? I don't know. Honestly, I know I have a preferred candidate in mind, but even that preferred candidate, I message him and I go, "Hey man, I want to endorse you. Hey man, I'd love to do an interview with you. Hey man, how do I do that endorsement video? I see that you see it, but you don't even have a moment of your day for me." Now, granted, you're busy. I'll give you that. But I'll tell you what, I don't know. I will never, and I repeat, never give my vote on any level to any person that I cannot contact. And I'm not saying you got to be available to me 24/7, but if you can't be responsive within a certain time frame and you're not even the chair, then you're going to be untouchable when you come chair. I'm never going to be able to communicate with you. You're going to be up on that pedestal. And I will never give my vote again to another person that I can't communicate directly to and have them be at least responsive to some extent. Never again. And that goes all the way down from the localist of local offices all the way to the president of the United States. I will never give my vote to somebody I cannot talk to directly. Ever. Ever again. And that's the way it should be for everybody. That's why I do a broadcast like this every morning that I feel like it's relevant to a conversation in the public opinion of things. And to say, hey, I mean, listen, if you disagree with me on the internet, don't you think that you could utilize this time instead of typing with your thumbs to join me in the morning and say, I know CJ and I disagree. I can click the link in the description and join him on his broadcast and talk about these things. And it's just the click of a button. I think it's it's 2 clicks and you're in the studio here. So I don't get it. I get all this hate in the world, but I just leave myself out there publicly for at least an hour a day. Well, not every single day. I this would get really old if I had to do this every single day. But here again, I'm doing this, and Brian Breitling isn't doing it. Have you seen Brian Breitling do anything online? See, Kendall don't even know who you are, Brian. Brian Breitling is the guy that won District 23 Senate nomination for the Republican Party. And he got 8% of the vote. Yeah, he got 8% of the vote here in District 23 for his primary. And that, my friends, is why I'm running. I would love to think I can get more than 10% of the district to go, yeah, we don't need the same old Republican rule. I mean, I would hope. There's no Democrat running. I'm the alternative option to the status quo. But I'm also available to everybody in my district. I'm also available to everybody on the internet. Not just my district. All 27,500 of you can utilize this platform at any given time. You just got to go like my Facebook page so you obviously can see when I'm live. That's the only thing you have to do in order to get access for that. You know, I don't charge anybody. There is a donation link, obviously, in my description now because I was told, well, CJ, how are you going to raise money if you don't put out a donation link? And I'm like, well, Larry, I really have a hard time asking people for money. You know, I really do. But it makes sense. So, again, if you want to help out in any way, shape, or form, I'm grateful for it. If not, you know, I finance my own campaigns. And I would prefer it that way because I'm not beholden to anybody. I don't have any strings attached to me. I'm nobody's puppet, and I can continue to speak freely instead of having somebody go, well, if I give CJ $10,000, he'll just regurgitate my narrative. Like, nah, I don't even think somebody can donate $10,000. But Larry seemed to think that if you got $1 bazillion, you know, you could donate pretty hefty. And I haven't started a Patreon or any of these other things like that to do any of that because, again, it takes away from who I want to be. I can't draw myself into doing that kind of stuff. I'm not the kind of guy that needs to have daily clips of my show that I put on. I'm not in that category. I'm just a guy out here in Meth, Dakota, who's trying to make a difference in the world using my voice to change the political system in a peaceful redress of grievance. Is all this is. My running for office is nothing short of a protest of the current government. Nothing more, nothing less. So, and if you feel the same way I do, you can join me on this broadcast, help me out. We don't have to agree on everything. I don't even agree with Dr. Jorgensen on everything. 9% of the time, she and I will disagree. But that does not mean that I'm going to go, oh, no, I can't support her. So, and again, don't you find it weird, Kendall? I've been called sexist before in my life, and here I'm like, the most valuable vote and most like respected vote I have in my life is going to Dr. Joe Jorgensen. You know, like I'm the happiest vote. The one that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to cast this vote is for a woman. But yet somehow I'm a sexist. Does this make any sense to some of the idiots on the other end of the screen? I'm not a sexist at all. But, you know, it's easy to throw out words like that. So. Oh, positive spin on the day for sure. All right, you guys. I didn't know that. You're just saying, look at, he's the sexiest. I like it. I like the way you think. All right, you guys. Well, that's all the time I got for today. If you've made it this far, again, I'd appreciate any help you can give, whether or not that's just liking, sharing. That's obviously free. If you can donate $1 or $2, I am going to Orlando, and I'm going to make a big splash. I motion to suspend the rules to censure the chair, Nicholas J. Sarwark, and remove him from office. Oh, can't wait to do it. Have a good day or don't.